So good evening. Thank you for joining us. We're delighted that you are here and talking to us at BW Wellbeing, and we'd love to know about your journey, Mr. Poonacha.
I started I left India in 1991, and I turned 50 this year. And my career started off in artificial intelligence. I worked for the largest corporations like Nortel Networks, Motorola. And in 2007, I decided to come back to India. And really, for me to give back to my hometown. I'm from a small part of India called Coorg. We are the land of the warriors. And
I've been there.
We basically, to India, our contribution is generals and athletes. And so I think my goal was to really bring together
Cariappa.
Yeah, General Cariappa, General Timaya. And my goal was to really bring back social entrepreneurship. It is how do we use technology to democratize knowledge, democratize well-being, democratize health. I think if you look at what's happening today, the pandemic, there are two industries which are going to be really churned. One is healthcare, one is education, overnight, right? So my goal is always looking at technology, well-being industry, and that's what I did in 2007, 2008. I actually started a company with two of the luminaries in India. One is Shekhar Kapoor, who did the film Bandit Queen, and A.R. Rahman, called Slumdog. Obviously, there's many films and music. It's called QQ, and the whole goal was to bring the country together with song, dance, and music. And that was how I looked at it, because in 2007, 2008, we were still going through a recession. There was a mental health crisis, and Bangalore, the city I grew up in, I found that mental health was at all-time high. It became almost like a suicide capital. So looking at that, we need to do more than just growth of economy. We need to take care of our people, and the corporations need to really focus on well-being as a key component. And that journey kind of took me into my collaboration with Dr. Deepak Chopra over the last decade. I've been kind of collaborating with him on many fronts, really bringing well-being into the conversation. What is the future of an economy without health of its citizens, right? And so I really started looking at well-being. When I look at well-being, I look at well-being in very different pillars. The 6 pillars: nourish, move, healthy emotions, a mind-body practice, sleep, and connection with community and nature. That is really what I was bringing into the practice. So that got me to I did a startup with.
When's your birthday? When's your birthday? It's a favorite question.
Yeah. Mine's June 10th.
Yeah, you got saved. You were born 4 days late. You share your birthday with Donald Trump. I'm not sure you'd like that. My older sister is 9 June, and my mother is 6 June. And lots of my colleagues. We even have a colleague. She's normally on all webinars. Tanvi, who's our head of marketing and alliances, she's 14 June, but we still like her. Right. So you'll be 50 very soon, no? Yeah. So half of your life is done and half is left. So
I think now,
which one will be more impactful?
I think it's about giving back. We go through, I always say the first 25 is learn as much as you can, and the next 25 is earn as much as you can, and the next 25 is give back all you can. And so I think I am now in the phase of giving back all you can. I think the world has been kind to me. And I think Gandhi said this: there's enough in the world of every man's need except for one man's greed. So I really believe that, that it is time. There's never enough. You can always give back. And if you have 1 rupee in your pocket, you can always give. It's all relative. And he started about conformity. I think that kind of got me interested. Krishnamurti was my biggest influence in my life. Jiddu Krishnamurti.
Of course.
He said comparison and conformity lead to conflict. A mind without conflict is a spiritual mind. And that's really where I am today. What I am today is about how do we kind of bring back. So I did a startup with Deepak Chopra called Jayo. In India, it's called Geo. But it's really about bringing wellness and well-being into corporations, changing the language and the tone. And then after that, I really started looking at more impact. And I started looking at the whole area of resilience. That's really where I am.
Brilliant. So the fact is, I know Mind Valley, so you can know that. By the way, I also know the 2 founders, Vishen, and the wife of the second co-founder is a very close friend of mine. In fact, I went to their wedding 2 years back in Bombay. And they wanted to bring the Awesomeness Fest to India, the A Fest.
Right.
I said we'll co-host, but sometimes people behave like they know more than you, and possibly they know. But sometimes I'm not able to digest it. I'm like, I know a lot, So, but as they told me at Landmark, you don't know what you don't know. So we know a lot, we don't know a lot. How we don't know that we don't know a lot? But I know I don't know a lot that where I started. But, they never got back to me, but it's okay. Vishen and what is her? Nita.
I know Vishen Lakhani. I don't know the other co-founder.
Yeah, I know the dude.
Yeah.
Vishen is he's the driver. I don't know him that well. I've done a call with him. I know his co-founder, Anita. Yeah. In fact, on Sunday, somebody was telling me last Sunday, there's a guy who looks at a book, tells you what's in it. And he said, Vishen, I said, Mind Valley. So, they're becoming popular, and I'm sure they're making an impact. Without making impact, difficult to be popular. So I just want to say, why do you call yourself the Warror Monk?
So this is basically, you asked, I was turning 50, so I wanted to really look at what does the world look like for me? What is the world I dream of? I have two boys, 19 and 15. And what is the world I want them to grow up in? And I believe the world I want to see, where no one should ever feel helpless and no one should ever feel hopeless. And the warrior always helps the helpless, and the monk always helps the hopeless. And you got to be in this world, but not of this world. And so I believe that for us to be successful in life, we need the yin yang, right? You cannot say, I don't need any money. You need to be in this world. You have to pay the bills. You have to do what you got to do, but yet you have to do good. So I think that's really, I growing up as a Kodava or a Kurg, I would say I have the spirit of the warrior, but life has made me more of a monk. And that really became the merger of the two. And I believe that's really, so when I look at life, that's what I'm trending towards, right? That's what I want to believe. I think there's a balance of the two. And the balance of the two can bring well-being in the world.
Brilliant. And how is the Warror Monk retreat doing? How did that idea come about?
I think it's years. It wasn't, I started this, just literally over a year ago. I think it was my own journey in life. I was looking at who's Poonacha? Four existential questions. Who am I? What is my purpose? What do I want? And how can I serve? Right? And that really became the fundamental question. And having been in business, from the Nortel, the Motorola's, the startups, Fortune 100 to startups across the globe, I fundamentally found that the loss of who I am, and identity. People have these existential questions when they're either sick or in their lockdown. Then I realized, maybe we need to kind of have this conversation. I'm a big, my body of work is in mental health, right? And I give people the statistics that, we have the pandemic today, which is, but every 40 seconds, somebody commits suicide in the world. Every 40 seconds, right? We talk about the United States, it's a great country, every 12 minutes, right? So these are, I would say, mental health challenges globally. And I said, why are young children doing this now? And I realized there's one thing which is missing, and that is called grit. How do you look at adversity? How do you look at this kind of resilience? So that's really got to start my journey, is that we need to bring the spirit of resilience into our community, into our children, into our education system, into our leaders, right? Talk about India, what happened with Cafe Coffee Day owner, right? I mean, this is when you hit
August last year.
Yeah, when you have these, when life punches you in the gut, you then look for tools, right? And sometimes we don't talk about tools. And I said, okay, we need to talk about it. We need to build it from day one into what we do. And that really is the warrior spirit. The warrior spirit is that, you go into war not because you want to kill anybody or fight anybody. You go into the war because you want to take care of your people, take care of yourself. And those are just the principles. So if you look at it, how do I translate into the world? I basically just tell people, just follow what I call the ABC approach. A is what is your attitude. B is what is your belief. And C is what's the choice you're going to make. Attitude is that irrespective of what happens, I'm going to have this positive can-do attitude, right? It doesn't matter what it is. B is your belief. Belief is, even today is the deepest, darkest winter. It's like looking really terrible. There is going to be the spring and summer. And C is what choice are you going to make right now? As the choice is basically, is the choice you're going to make going to help you or hurt you? Help others or hurt others? And when you operate from this space, it doesn't matter what situation. You can be a father, a mother, a CEO, a leader. You can build resilience into your life. And that's really, so these are principles I'm sharing. It's more from, it's nothing. It's my own life lessons. Like you said, it's learned and assimilated through life. Right? It's
Tell me, we are in COVID times, and a lot of people are lost. They're hopeless. Not the people on this. I can tell you, Resham is very happy. Kavi is also happy. Himani is happy. I'm happy. And we need to get to perfection, and we'll get there.
Sure.
In fact, COVID has helped us, at least in my case, I can say, but it has helped us me tremendously. The first time I've been home for 59 days. Right, today's the 59th day. I met only one person outside my family. I focus on my work like I've never focused. And I can see a transformation happening in 1-2 months. We would never do video interviews. I would talk to my team, say we have to be digital daily first. And I built a digital daily business before that. You got to be video first. Just nobody did say yes, but it won't happen. It's happening. So give us the message of how we can transform ourselves during this. How can we create hope for ourselves? How can we create hope for others? What can we do for ourselves and for others?
Yeah. So let me first define hope. Hope basically says that, today, tomorrow, the future is going to be better than the present, right? That's hope. But more importantly, that you have the power to make it so, right? Tomorrow is going to be better than the present, but you have the power to make it so. And if you don't give yourself the power, then it's not a hope, it's a wish, right? And it's a very fine line. And I always tell people, once I understand that, then I put together like 10 things we can do. One is keep a very positive attitude. Like as we talked about, don't panic. Every glass half empty, half full. Like you said, we're all going through the same storm, but in different boats, right? But we're all facing the same storm, right? Some people might be in a house, some people might be in a hut, but we're all facing the same storm together. So be positive. Second one, now is the time to nurture your relationships, right? In Asian philosophy, we call it Sangha, right? Seva, Sangha, and Simran, right? So what is your Sangha? Find out, it's not how many people like you, how many people follow you, who is there for you. Find your Sangha, the relationship. Third one, recalibrate, meaning and purpose, right? What is that? Who are you? What is the essence of who you are? Fourth one, I would say engage in something that puts you in a state of flow, gives you joy. Fifth is maintain a healthy body, right? Your health as well. You have to look at it because that's where the principles, ancient wisdom principles of India talked about yoga, the 8 limbs, right? It wasn't just asana. It's yama, niyama, right? Yama, niyama is discipline, right? Then came asana, then came pranayama, then came dhyana, dharana, samadhi, right? So we had the 8 principles. It was very applicable. Then look at look at stress and anxiety, have a mind-body practice, number 6. 7th is nourish, right? We have to look at nourishing the body, whole food, plant-based. Self-care, right? 8th, what we forget in India, and especially people working really hard, is sleep. Sleep is really the most important thing.
Can you believe we did a well-being summit last week?
Right.
And and I have no problem in sharing. I have apnea for the last maybe 10 years. So I use a resonance machine.
Sure. Right.
I would sleep like a baby earlier. I sleep like a baby, but I use the resonance machine. And I know I've made wrong decisions when I haven't slept well.
Yeah.
Right? I have eaten, sleep is, and luckily I sleep 8-9 hours. I work and I sleep.
Right.
And yesterday I got into doing research. I wanted to do a sleep summit for 5 years, maybe 6 years. Right. I saw that I ended up like 7-8 sleep summits. I mean, I have friends who can't sleep. I'm blessed. So I call
There's a very good book. There's a very good book by, I think, Dr. Walker, Why We Sleep.
I've read every book in this year.
Yeah. So that's a very good book. I highly recommend
it. So I read this year and I gave it to Nawal, who's my partner in exchange for media, who can't sleep, and he loved the book.
Yeah, it's really, I like that book because it's science. It's coming from the principles. And anyway, the 9th and 10th principles for me is connect with nature. I say, Rumi said, God's language is silence. I say, God's language is silence by nature. Everything else is poor translation. And the 10th one, in these times of adversity, if you're of service, when you're of service, you forget what you're going through. So always be of service. Doesn't matter. It's online. You can always be of service. Mm-hmm. And that, I think, helps people get through this, build resilience and get through the adversity.
Fantastic. See, I came here because I set up a time in Kavi, but I'm enjoying this. And, I try and follow all of it. I think exercise and being movement is something I can follow. Rest I broadly follow.
Now, I think it's baby steps, right?
As long as yeah. So I want to ask you is that, you work with Deepak Chopra, right? You said you work with Shekhar Kapoor, you work with Rahman. All of them are masters of their craft. Mm-hmm. There's a science and there's an art,
Right.
Tell us what you learned from each one of them.
If I
can learn from Kavi. I learn sincerity. Resham is always cheerful. I think that's what I like. She also does good work, but she's always cheerful. She says yes. See, life you grow because you take opportunity.
Right.
There is a power to saying yes. There is a power to saying no to,
Sure.
but there's a power to saying yes. So I can learn from both of them. I mean, I'm definitely learning from you.
I think
But
we're
what
always
did you learn
learning
from
every
me?
day. I think we learn from everybody in all walks of life. If the
Yeah.
day we stop learning, we are dead. No, I think there are a lot of things I've learned personally. I've learned from every single interaction. Like I said, I'm learning from you all. But I think with, if I had to ask me one thing, I think with Rahman, I would say a deep connection with spirituality. Right? He's deeply connected. And I really find that fascinating. Like I remember the Amar Riyaz and the time he prays to really get tap into the infinite, which I really loved. With Shaker, Renegade, like, he is the person who always thinks out of the blocks. He's ahead of his time. He is definitely, the kind of projects and things we've spoken about. Even today, I don't see it, right? So it's really that thing about out of the box thinking. And think about a chartered accountant, financial guy who really came in and really changed the genre of Indian cinema. And today, if you look at the movies like Masoom and Bandit Queen, they're still out there as one of the leaders, in that space. And with Deepak, he's my
Two
one of the
friends
best.
produced it. Two friends. Masoom was produced by Amit Khanna, if I'm not wrong. Amit is my neighbor in Def Call. And Mr. Bedi produced Bandit Queen.
And I
Anyway,
mean, like, I'm not but familiar with who produced, but producer, but yeah, working with them. But Dr. Deepak Chopra is one of my best friends, and I have a daily conversation. So it's very hard to quantify my relationship with him. For him, I say he is a living legend, right? So somebody who really deeply understands Eastern or Western or wisdom traditions and connects it deeply with science is, I think, the merger of the two. When you can bring in Eastern wisdom tradition with modern day science and succinctly translate it for the common person without getting too complicated, that itself is something which is magical. So I mean, I've been very blessed to have collaborated, and hence my own khichdi, right? You have to make you're basically see what is your truth. It doesn't matter what somebody else's truth is. What is your truth?
Brilliant. Kavi and Resham. Kavi, first you.
Sir, could you tell us a little about Deepak Chopra Inner Space, which you co-founded as well?
Right. Yeah, I mean, so I was looking at why are people getting sick and what was it? And one of the things I realized during collaborated with a person called Clint Ober, who started the earthing movement, walking bare feet on the ground, right? So when you walk bare feet, or when you walk around the beach, or you're basically on the ground connecting with nature, what happens is that your body actually connects with Mother Earth, and scientifically, the Earth is negatively charged. So when you're in front of Zoom calls all day or having with electronics, your body goes through what you call oxidative stress, where it actually picks up free radicals. When you walk bare feet, and these are Eastern traditions, right? You sat on the ground, you sat bare feet, you connected with Earth, you actually discharge the free radicals. It reduces inflammation. Chronic low-grade inflammation is the number one predictor of disease, right? So if you can do anything to reduce inflammation, you can basically help people out. So nowadays, what happens? People live in apartments. They can't really walk, or they can't really be in nature. They're all wearing shoes all the times, right? You can't really run around bare feet. So the next best thing you can do is we came up with this kind of mat, which you can sit under. You're working under a chair, or on your bed. You can plug it into an earthing outlet and basically discharge. So really help people with pain and things. Instead of popping pain medication, look at natural therapies for reducing chronic low-grade inflammation. It's a very simple thing, but it's really been helping. I, in fact, just launched it with firefighters and police officers in the city of Phoenix. We just launched these things.
Fantastic. Resham?
I think all of us would agree that everything is under massive transformation. Everyone is under massive transformation. And we are under stress, tense, and under fears. So how can one person can ensure the transformation in only positive ways and not in negative?
So, two parts to your question, right? So without sunlight, there's sun and the moon, right? Like dark, black and white, positive, negative are just human stories, right? Every human story can be reframed, right? And something is bad. I complained I had no shoes until I saw a man who had no feet, right? So I think what needs to happen, and this is what Krishnamurti said, right? So comparison and conformity lead to conflict. A man without conflict is a spiritual mind. So only when we have comparison, that means say, I'm 50 years old, I should look this way, dress this way, my bank balance should be this way, somebody else. When you're constantly comparing, now there's stress. If you're constantly conforming, there's stress. Children have no stress because they don't really care whether they're wearing clothes or running around or what bank balance is or who's whatever. If you can have a childlike mind and really believe in infinite possibilities, then there's no stress. It's very hard to practice it. But if you just think about this, right? If I ask you, Resham, think of your next thought. Thoughts come and go, right? The only thing you can do is not be attached to the outcome and the thought. And these are some of the principles I think we can ground ourselves in, that it is okay not to have control. It is okay to know that you don't have all the answers, and you don't have to have all the answers, right? And sometimes this is what the Buddhists call present moment awareness, right? That you only have this moment is a present, because that's the only thing you can be present to. So anyway, these are things which are very simple practices. And one of the things I always say to people, I say, my simple example I tell people is stop. So during the day, just stop. S is either sit, stand, or just slow down, right? T, that's S. T is tune in. How am I feeling? Just take a deep breath. Just breathe out. Just taking a deep breath. Elongating your long breath scientifically says you're tapping into the parasympathetic nervous system. When you're tuned to be in the Kalahari or safari, when the tiger was chasing you or the lion was chasing you, and that's how you breathe today, right? If you take a deep breath, you're actually telling the vagus nerve that, you know what, everything is okay. I'm fine. That's tuning into your body. And if you're finding stress, breathe into it. Oh, is observe around, see what's happening. It's beautiful. It doesn't matter what's happening, observe. And then once you do that, proceed with purpose, right? Now that you've slowed down. What happens today is that half the time we just fight or flight response, right? And we need to kind of really start slowing down and being in flow. And this is what the pandemic has done. It's really gotten us to slow down. And basically told it doesn't matter how many millions you have, how many crores you have in the bank, you're going to be the same right now, right? It's a great equalizer.
Tell us, there is this debate about lives and livelihood. Is there a balance that can be struck?
I absolutely think. I think inherently life is about homeostasis, right? Everything has to hit an equilibrium, right? So when I look at it, when you look at this pandemic, I think about it. On one side is complete lockdown, right? And the other side of the spectrum is complete, just go out and do whatever you were doing. And maybe somewhere in the middle lies the answer, right? So we know that what we really need to do is not about so much about wearing the mask or things. It's about really building your immune system, right? It's about really being healthy. Now that is the number one thing, because this is not the last time we're going to have something like this. There's going to be some other thing. There was SARS, there was MERS. Now we have COVID. It's going to be something else. So fundamentally, we got to get healthy, build our immune system. That's something we got to do. The second thing is that people are immune compromised, and people who are the seniors, yes, we need to kind of isolate, protect them, do that, make sure it does not a burden on the healthcare system. And the third thing, we need to get people over the fear, right? If you're not, get back, build the herd immunity. The children need to be back in schools and really, because what I worry about, an entire generation is now growing up with fear. When I was growing up in Bangalore, my mom kicked me out of the house when I was a child and said, come back in the evening, figure it out, right? And we all went around, played cricket on the streets, came back home. Kids today are growing up without having that interaction. Fear, I think, is going to do a lot more harm than the virus itself, right?
And how to make sure that they don't have fear? We don't have fear.
And I think this is where we need to kind of create conversation, create content, create inspiration, because fear, the definition I always say is false evidence appearing real, right? False evidence appearing real. So people look at a rope and think it's a snake. People look at this and say this is the end of the world, right? So what we need to do is, and also all of a sudden now parents have to educate children at home. They're spending time at home, instead of being in the classroom, they're at home. So we need to spend a lot of time really spending time with the children while we're at home. What is life after this? Give them the tools to be resilient. Get them to it's okay to express how they feel. Be there for them, right? And these are tools overnight. I have to do it with my son. He's 19.
So be with them. Be in the moment. Don't be judgmental.
And then and really, they are teaching you. You're teaching them. You're going through the journey in the same boat together, right? these are unprecedented, uncharted times. I'm here in San Diego with my son. My son wants to be a pro golfer, and that's his passion. He's 19 years old, and I don't know what's going to happen in sports, right? As a father, I can tell him that. I can be honest. I don't know, son, but whatever's going to happen, I'm going to be there with you every step of the way, right?
So what's his handicap?
He's literally a single. I think he's a scratch golfer. So
Oh wow.
yeah. So I think he really wants to make it, but like these are uncertain times, and I think sports.
I'm sure we will. I'm sure we will. And tell me, how do you keep ego away?
Oh, ego is the death of the soul. Right, so it is very hard. I mean, this is.
I'm Kavi's boss. I am saying, okay, Rishabh, right?
I think it is constantly stopping and asking and observing who is asking this question, right? Who is asking this question? Why are we asking this question? So I think this constant observation. If you ask me today, it's like if you watch yourself like you're watching a cinema, right? And if you go back and say, why did I say this? Why did I do this? And just pause, albeit for a few seconds, I think we can at least start to rein it in, right? And then also looking at what is that, we all build stories, right? That's what we are taught. I'm an Indian, I'm from Coorg. So if you go back and say, I'm Poonacha Machaiah, that is a story, right? But if you take, that's when I'm 50. If I take out Machaiah out, I'm Poonacha, maybe a little bit more innocent when I was in school, Poonacha. If I take Poonacha out, I am.
What does Poonacha mean?
It's nothing. It's basically my hometown. It's it's a family name. We are in Coorg. We are families. We were kind of, I would say, groups. And it's more of a clans. So we have a family name which is Balyatanda. Machaiah is my father's name. Poonacha is my name. And we just kind of got these names. If you look at Coorg, we kind of recycle our names. So we have
my roommate in the business school is from Chennai, Bala. Right. So his name was Balakrishna Keswan. So Balakrishna was his name, Keswan was his dad's name. His dad's name is Keswan something, because all the Tamilians in my class had, you're a Kannadiga, right?
Right, yeah.
You're a Kannadiga, right? But Tamilians, they had either their village name or their father's name in there.
Right. Yeah, I mean, for me, I think Coorg is a very small community.
By the way, I went with a friend of mine with another Kannadiga. His name is Rajesh Sheshadri. His great-great-grandfather used to be, he took me to a place in Bangalore where his statue is there.
Okay.
He was like big guy. In fact, I went to the coffee estates in Coorg, 2,300 acres. I went when my daughter was born, 2004.
Wonderful. Wow. Okay.
It was 16 years back.
Yeah.
I think it took us 3-4 hours of drive. 3-4 hours of drive from Bangalore, right?
Right.
Across Mysore.
I think it's about 4 hours now with traffic.
4 hours.
4.5 hours.
4 hours.
4 hours.
But once you're there, you're transported. You cross Mysore also.
Yeah, but now look at the beautiful thing right now is that nature is healing. So I think tigers are all coming out, and I think
elephants. I saw elephants.
Yeah, everything is happening. So I guess I heard in Jalandhar now we can see the range. So maybe there is some.
Maybe they're drinking too much single malt. Who knows?
Possibilities.
Man, just having fun. So I came because of commitment, but I'm really enjoying it. I call Kavi saying, I'm tired because I'm working. I haven't had a weekday off. And I'm a guy who watches movies, reads books. I'm just working. I have these books lying. I thought I'd finish them in 60 days. I haven't had a minute.
I'm very grateful for you coming in. I'm
enjoying it. I'm grateful.
Beneficial.
And when Kavi approached me, I said, okay. Then I said, okay. But I want to ask you, Kavi, why did you choose him? Now you know me a little bit, so you can open up with me.
Yes, so my mother actually had a friend who in Chennai who met Mr. Poonacha, and she introduced. I think she introduced her to him, and she came to know about all the good work that he's doing. So it was her idea basically to tell me.
Please thank your mom. I have met your mom. You know that.
Yes, sir.
First time at the wedding of Mrs. Niru, Dr. Niru Kumar's son.
Yes.
Yes. That's where I met your dad and mom for the first time, right?
So they speak very highly of you.
Yeah, because they don't know me. It happens. I'm able to fool people all the time. It's okay. So, by the way, it's funny. I know Kavi's dad, but very formally. No mom. But I had a Reiki teacher, and her son's wedding, I first met them. And Resham's dad, I went to speak at a dad's one event. His dad is a coach and an outstanding speaker. And, I met Resham there. And then, and by the way, I know Susie also very well. You know Susie? Yeah. Right? You know Susie Singh. Oh, you were recommended by Susie in a way, Ranjit, right? So we should talk to her, by the way. We should talk to Susie about her. We should do an interview with Susie. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Coming back to Mr. Poonacha.
So I had one thought, just to kind of, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I have no thought.
I had one thought, which basically I think you guys are in business. So one of the things I always tell people is that I think it's time to change the vocabulary, right? So when you look at, if you look at the book,
and words are huge influence. Words are huge influence.
So if you look at business strategy, right? The word strategy came from, you say,
military.
The military. Right? It came from Chanakya's Arthashastra, Sun Tzu, and the Art of War. And typically, if you look at military language, it's defeat, decimate, and destroy. Right? You look at market share, take piece of the pie. Let's churn the competition.
It's a zero-sum game.
We always came from scarcity consciousness, right? We should come from abundance, right? So I really believe that we got to input principles like blue ocean thinking into this, right? How do we kind of coexist, shared economy? I think that's where I really go back and say, now is the time for business leaders to really reinvent themselves for the whole new vocabulary, where it's about coexistence, sharing, right? And that's really where I'm kind of very passionate about, because I can bridge the gap